G'day guys, welcome to another video. I am really sorry about them being super sparse here, there and everywhere. I'm trying to get my bearings back together again, and I'm heading back to work on some light duties, which is fantastic because I love my job and I want to be at work. I don't want to be sitting at home. So I am very excited. This particular layout actually came to me, believe it or not, at 2 o'clock in the morning, because if I'm not working, you know what I'm like. I get up at ridiculous hours of the morning and I come up with creative ideas. Anyway, moving on. So what I decided to do was pull out my Montmartre Dimension acrylic paint, which I don't use very often. And I've got like the entire spectrum of colors. So it's kind of a little funny that I don't use it. Anyway, I wanted to do a bit of a scraping technique, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And I love, if you have never done this and you have acrylic paint, look, you can do it with water paint, you can do it with inks, you can do it with expensive stuff, you can do it with cheap stuff. If you've got cheap acrylic paint, here's a tip. Mix in some corn flour. That's all you got to do. So if you've got the cheap, so your kids, you might not have lots of acrylic paint, right? Like I do. You may not be as obsessed as I am. Just all you've got to do is get the cheap poster paint, and to make it more opaque, so you can't see through it, less transparent, mix a bit of corn flour with it. That's all you've got to do. And it thickens it up and it gives you more of a heavy-bodied look like this one. So you don't need to necessarily go out and buy anything extra for this particular layer. You could use water paints. You could use distress ink. You could use, your re-inkers. You could also use your liquid pearls. You could do that and scrape with it. It's a super simple technique. You can see me here just putting down the rainbow, and all I did, I've got this little, it's just a piece of plastic is all it is really. And it's quite flexible, and I'm just using it as a scraping tool. So you don't need anything. Use one of your kids' plastic rulers. It works perfectly. As long as it's got a nice straight edge on it, you're laughing. If not, use an old key card, an old credit card, an old store card, and have fun with it. Now, as you can see, I'm putting rainbows in all different directions because there's a reason for that. In my brain, now I did this second sheet. This is an A4 piece of cardstock, and I did that separate one because I was actually going to cut out some stars and with my die cut machine, and I was going to add stars to it, but it was going to be way too busy, so I didn't do that. I deviate a little bit. As you can see here, as I'm drying it, it is the one page. You're probably thinking to yourself, Karen, what did you do? That's just a big mess. Stick around to the end. This is a very short video. It's only 12 minutes long, and trust me, it looks really good in the end. I have done a technique similar to this, probably, I think it was about 2 years ago, actually. Now I think about it. It was probably it was probably about 2 years ago. And I really liked it, but I wanted to do a sort of a switch up on it. So what I decided to do, don't mind me, the video is still going. I was looking for a stencil. I wanted a specific stencil. If you know me, if you've been here for 5 minutes, you know that I've got a plethora of stencils, both small, large, 12 by 12, all sorts of things. So finding anything quickly, especially at the moment, because I've been out of my craft room, because I've been resting my leg as I had to so I could get back to work. Unfortunately, I'm not as quick to find where things are, and I probably need to do a really good clean out of this, like clean everything up, put everything back where it should be. So anyway, so I found what I was looking for. You can see I pulled out a couple of stencils over there. So the star one was the idea in my head. I thought maybe I could do some stars, maybe I could do some different bits and pieces. Now, what I just used there was the Spellbinders foam, the 3D foam. It doesn't have sticky on the back of it, and it's called Spellbinders Paper Arts Card Shop Essentials. It's called Pop-Up Die Cutting Foam Sheets. picked it up for like $3 from Kitaholic Kits, and it's excellent. I should have jumped back on and bought more of it because it's perfect. Black and white's pretty much all you ever need. Now, I pulled out this. Now, this is where I went wrong. So, note what I'm doing right now. You know how I'm really impatient and I just keep going? Well, if you've been on any of my lives, you know that that's what I'm like. I was a bit impatient with this. So this particular stencil is a darkroom door stencil. It is the 9x6 medium stencil, and it's called Creativity if you're looking for it. I'm not sure if you can get it anymore, but right here, can you see the problem? I didn't let the acrylic paint dry properly, and this stencil has got sticky, what's it called? Hang on, I'll tell you what it's called. Spray adhesive on the back of it. And I actually haven't had to respray any of those lately. So I stuck it down and the paint wasn't quite dry. So I ripped it. Don't worry about it. We'll just cover it up with something. And by the end of this, you won't even know that where that word fun is, it looks perfectly fine. So I'm using this splotch. This is a, you could think of it as coffee rings. You could think of it as paint splats, coffee drips. I think that's what it was actually called when I bought it. I bought it forever ago. I don't even know if you can still get it, but I'm sure there's other ones out and about here and there that you can grab. I think I got mine from, oh look, I can't even stab in the dark. Maybe it was Poppy Crafts from Crafts Online. So I'm just freehanding a drip at the top. The inspiration for the drip at the top came from that stencil, but the stencil is only a little tiny short drip. So I wanted it to go all the way across the top of the 12x12 page. So as you can see, if you just roll your paintbrush in between your thumb and your pointer finger, it rolls beautifully and you get a really nice round curve on your paint drips. So that's just black acrylic paint that I've used through the stencil. So basically I haven't scrapped at all for probably a month now. And for anyone that knows me, that has, yes, it has killed me. Yes, it has. But this was just my way of sort of breaking back into the mixed media again and just getting my hands into it. And I really had fun. It was great. I loved it. But it came together really quickly too, because I had the idea in my head and I thought, I want to mix it up a little bit though. So I replaced the stencil back over the top and I sprayed some of the Distress Spritz peacock feathers over the black. You can see it up close, but it's not super in your face. It didn't really, I think everything else is so busy on the layout that the mica sort of it doesn't really pop. But that's okay because I fixed that. Don't stress. I fix it. So now I'm just using my Posca paint pen and I'm just getting a bit doodly just to make it sort of a little bit more, I guess, realistic with a bit of a light area on your drips just to show, where it's coming down, that sort of thing. And typically, as I always do, and I say this to you guys all the time, and you probably saw me earlier in the video, I did draw where I was putting my photo. I really did. But guess what? I still muffed it up. So I'm just highlighting my title. So I wanted creativity to pop. And then I just went over art is the window to the soul. And because this particular photo I'm scrapping is of my eldest daughter, she was only about 3. She was probably 3 in this photo. And we were doing painting. This is when I did family daycare. And it was fantastic. Can you see I covered up the black spots? So, but she didn't want to do the paint because the paint was, didn't know at that point that she had Asperger's. And anything that was on her fingers, she had to try and wipe off. So she had to get off her any which way she could. And she thought painting her face would be just the right way to get the green paint off. So, yeah. So it comes together. Now you can see I had to add a couple more little stencil splotches on there because I covered most of them up. It's no big deal, guys. If you put all your stencil work down and you think, oh, covered up a bit too much, just add a little bit more. It's all good. Now I didn't go too super crazy with texture and all that sort of thing, but I did do a double matte on it, and I did run the acrylic paint around the edge of the layout just to give it that doubled border, if that makes sense. And yes, I can see now, at the time I thought I did really well and got that straight, but I didn't. So yeah, so it looks, I love it. Now this is where I went, I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it. This is where I wanted to make the difference between a layout that I've done previously that was similar and this layout. The technique that I used before, which was that stencil using the black paint, and it really popped against the bright colors in the background. They weren't actually rainbow, but this particular one, I wanted to make the black paint look like it's still wet. So I've pulled out my glossy accents, and I have to tell you, the end result looks so cool. I'm so glad I did it. I love it. If you're looking to create a wet look on your layout, maybe you've spilt a coffee, maybe your child spilt a milkshake, and you've managed to grab photos of it, or you know, the bottoms fell out of their ice block, you know, something like that, or popsicle if you call it that overseas. We call them ice blocks over here. And this is a great way of creating that really wet look on your page by using the acrylic paint, and then by putting the glossy accents over it, it looks like the paint's never dried. So it looks really cool. I love it. So it's just another simple way. I have had people ask me, how do I create layouts like yours without a Cricut, without all the stuff? That's a way of doing it. Get yourself some glossy accents. It really does add a lot to that there. So I'm pointing out that bit there. See how it's a bit milky? It's actually dried now and it's crystal clear. So anywhere that it looks a little bit milky, it will dry. You can see some of those there that are dry. That's what it looks like. It's fantastic. I love it. So please give me a thumbs up if you like this. If this is something you'd like to see me do more of, I am trying to get back in the craft room where possible, in and around crazy life that we have at the moment. And I've also got a Facebook link, Instagram link, and buy me a coffee in the description below if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Chat to you soon. Bye for now.